are more beneficial than mixed-gender schools. Senator Hillary Clinton once said, "There should not be any obstacle to providing a single-sex choice in a public school system." We have to look at the achievements of single-sex schools springing up around the country. We know this has energized students and parents. We could use more schools such as this. Today, my team will be arguing that in single-gender schools, customized learning is an option that helps students, and how students are socially affected. Finally, how single-gender schools help students focus on learning. We hope you'll find that in single-gender schools are truly more beneficial than mixed-gender schools.
Single-gender schools provide customized learning. Pairing girls with boys does not help the boys but does hurt the girls. A study done by Jean and Jeffrey Underwood found that if the same sex are paired together, they get better scores. Differentiated instructions or instruction fitted to each student is much easier to implement in an all-girl classroom than in a co-ed classroom, which means girls do better in single-gender schools than in regular schools.
Not only does single-gender schools provide new opportunities, but also provide students with positive social effects. In single-gender schools, girls and boys are most likely to break the boundaries of stereotypes. Example, girls are most likely to study science and boys are most likely to study drama. In single-gender schools, it helps kids learn without trying to impress the opposite sex. Example, if a boy likes a girl, he gets distracted by trying to impress her and his buddies. Single-gender schools help identify that girls learn faster than guys because girls mature faster. In single-gender schools, girls will be able to get a better education instead of being held behind the boys. Single-gender schools help students learn without the distraction of the stereotypical boundaries and helps kids learn with the distraction of opposite sex.
When boys and girls are separated, it is more beneficial for learning. With differential learning between the sexes, being separated could help. Reports suggest that in single-gender high schools may result in reduction rates often in teen pregnancy and drug abuse. Students are able to pursue learning instead of getting distracted by non-academic distractions. So, when boys and girls are separated, it is more beneficial for learning. I know that in class where I have an all-girls group, we get a lot more done.
I want you to look to your left, your right, or just look all around you and see if you can find a friend or anyone you know who is the opposite sex than you. There was somebody that I know who was dating this girl, and they always talked about each other all the time. Everybody knew they'd make a cute couple. They would always hold hands, stare at each other in class, talk about how much they liked each other, and say goodbye to each other at the end of the school day. That happened every day until one day he couldn't find her. Later, she told him that she was forced to move to a private school for only girls, and they were heartbroken. This should matter to you because it could happen to all those couples out there, or soon-to-be couples. It could also happen to two very close friends that are male and female. Mixed-gender schools are more beneficial to students than single-gender schools. By the end of this debate, you will know that single-gendered schools are technically illegal. You have to work with the opposite gender, and most people prefer to go to mixed-gendered schools. Teenage students would rather prefer to go to co-ed schools than go to single-gender schools. Based on our research, we recently took a poll of 42 8th graders and asked them if they'd rather go to mixed-gender schools or single-gender schools. 40 of them would rather prefer to go to mixed-gender schools. Then we asked the same students if they supported boys and girls being treated equally. All 100% of the 8th graders agreed. Abraham Lincoln once said, "Government of the people, by the people, for the people shall not perish from the earth," which means that without the students, there wouldn't even be a school, and that the school should make things fair for the students. But if the school doesn't give the students what they feel like is fair, they will rebel, causing massive chaos to the school and its control over the students, making the parents or guardians not allowing their child to go to that school. Also, the students would rather want to transfer to a co-ed school than be in a single-gendered school, making the school lose lots of money from the students. And not only do students prefer co-ed schools, but it destroys the working environment between the two different sexes.
Kids would rather go to mixed-gender schools, and it's more beneficial. Here's how. It promotes cooperation between the two sexes which they'll need to learn one day after college, high school, or even middle school. Because when you get a job, they don't separate the genders. And kids who go to mixed gender schools will be way more prepared for when that day comes. Single gender schools just limit the opportunity for the sexes to learn to work together and learn how to cooperate for the work environment. Also, you can miss out on a boyfriend, girlfriend, best friend, or even a future spouse, because there's always going to be that one couple in high school that ends up getting married, having kids, and if you went to a single gender school, you can miss out on basically your whole life. Teachers, most of them, are only qualified to teach both genders together, because when you're 18 or 19, you don't think that you're only going to teach one gender, and that's not why you go to college. You go to teach both. In Susan Black's Boys and Girls Together, she states that teachers that teach in single gender schools are more likely to influence their children into stereotypes, such as girls taking cooking and sewing, and boys in sports such as football and baseball. Also, it is unethical and technically illegal according to greatschools.org. We have struggled with sexism and women's segregation for so long, and single gender schools would just undo all of the hard work that we've done to get where we are now. It's technically illegal according to the Educational Opportunities Act and Title IX. The Educational Opportunities Act, established in 1974, states that it prohibited discrimination of faculty, staff, or students, and single gender schools practice that by giving one gender more opportunities than the other. Title IX protects educational programs such as school from gender discrimination, which again, single gender schools practice by taking them away from each other and not allowing them to commingle. If it's unbeneficial, kids don't want to go, and it promotes gender discrimination, do you really want to send your child to school there? Think about it.
Alright, we have 2 minutes to prepare your rebuttal.
Oh my gosh, I heard David.
Okay, so they talked to teen pregnancy. Yeah, they said teen pregnancy.
You did great, Cameron. Cameron, what were you argument with? He was opening statement.
Cameron, work with your group.
Yeah, work with your group, Cameron. Don't just sit there thinking about your life. Work with your group. You did great.
I don't know, because you only get one shot.
Listen, Cameron.
You get one shot.
Yeah, you didn't say that.
All you have to do is travel back in time.
We're going to say that they stereotyped themselves by saying that it's stupid that rather than so they just gave it.
You right?
She's going to say students are more focused and mature at
I guess. Like thinking about David, that was hilarious. It's just like the last comment before the 2 minutes is David just sitting there.
Oh, he's just like,
Sitting there, he's like, I was just thinking, too legit to quit, yeah. So listen, you have to look up. Cameron, you looked off. Yeah, you looked down on it. You should look. Other than that, you did great. You weren't going too fast or too slow. Other than that, which is bad. You want to help me.
Ready to go?
My opponent stated that at single gender schools, you lack the opportunities to commingle with the opposite gender, and that it also promotes a gender discrimination. With all due respect, it's not as if you'll never see the opposite gender. You'll still see them at parties, restaurants, malls, and other public establishments. They also claimed that students are qualified to teach him both,
both genders. However, teachers can use strategies in the all-girls classroom and all-boys classroom that don't work as well or don't work at all in the co-ed classroom. Not all methods work for all kids, but at these schools, the teachers can be able to work with the kids and teach them in a way that is more beneficial for the majority of the students. They also said that the teens prefer it. Well, some parents will allow the student to choose if they would rather go to a co-ed school or a single gender school. If you had the opportunity to choose, I know that most kids would choose to go to the co-ed school. However, there is the option to go to the single gender school.
My opponent stated that single-gender schools provide a customized learning. Yet think about our school here. We can pick our electives. We can choose speech and drama. We can go out for sports. We can also get a customized learning here. You can go into higher education levels for English and math. So it's not just single-gender schools that get that customization. Also, they stated stereotypes. Yet you guys also stereotyped when you said that girls would take speech and drama. Well, guys can take it too, and also girls can take sports and guys can take sports. In mixed gender schools, we don't stereotype. We have the options for both guys and girls. Guys can choose speech and drama and girls can choose sports. It's all together. You guys also stated that students are more focused while working in single gender schools. Well, this is not exactly true. At greatschools.org, it's stated that the more girls in the class, the more focused the guys are. So it's a proven fact that the more the girls are in the class, the guys focus more because they want to impress those ladies out there.
Single-gender schools are more profitable for students than co-ed schools. In our arguments, we show that in a more personalized single-gender setting, girls have an improved academic performance, and that in a single-sex school, students are encouraged to break stereotype boundaries without feeling like you need to impress the opposite sex. And we proved that when genders are separated, it improves the focus on learning. Given the choice, many parents would have their children go to mixed-gender schools, if for no other reason than because that's where they went to school. But if they looked at the evidence that supports single-gender schools, I'm confident that at least some part of them would start to believe that maybe co-ed isn't the best option for their child. If you begin to doubt your views about what you want for your child, single-gender or co-ed, ask yourself one question. What is the best and most beneficial option for your child?
Mixed-gender schools are more beneficial to the student than single-gender schools. More students rather go to a mixed-gender school than single-gender school because we have friends of the opposite sex. We don't all just have friends of girls and not just all friends of guys. We all combine and have different social groups. Now, if I were to go to a single-gender school, I could also think that, oh, my gender is better because I haven't really come in contact with the opposite gender. And that's not how the real world is, and that would downgrade our society. Our society would be upgraded if we stayed in mixed-gender schools because we would have an understanding and respect, and equality would be at an all-time high. And once again, it's just logical to go to a mixed-gender school. You'll get to see how the opposite gender reacts when you do things, and then you'll also feel more comfortable with them when you get into the work environment. Now, though it might be held back with teen pregnancy and also it's easier for teachers to teach, teen pregnancy is also common in single-gender schools because they can go out and party on the weekends, and it's not the school's job to keep them back. They might say, oh, don't party, but ultimately it's the parents' morals, teaching the kids their morals to have them not go out and party. And also, teachers are taught to teach multiple genders, not just one. And it's easier for them because then they could show them like sewing and stuff. It would show that guys, you can sew in a mixed-gender school. And through all of that, it also breaks Title IX and the Equal Education Opportunities Act, so it's technically illegal. So let me ask you this. Do you want society to crumble and for everything we have done to change? Or do you want equality to strive forth and build a better future? For every woman who gave birth to, every taxpayer and citizen of this nation, we have fought for everybody else's equal rights. Do you want to throw that all away due to the fact that we went to a single gender school? Personally, I don't, but think about it. Do you?